Hey guys, here, here I am doing a small interview for Sarah of Horror Festival. Thank you so much for liking my work, Immunity. And yeah, so I'm in London just on a weekend trying to move house, and it's a terrible. But anyway, so I start with the interview and hopefully make sense. So, how did your love for the horror genre begin? Well, actually, yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it love. I mean, I met the horror genre like at a young age. With As a kid, we were watching like VHS films at my granny's place, and it was a big deal back then because I'm from Eastern Europe, so we were somewhat behind with technology. But anyway, so we had access to VHS record player, and yeah, we watched like some crazy current stuff like Terminator 1, Rocky, all that. And also I remember like particularly terrified by one film which was shot in somewhere outside Texas, in the desert, and it had like proper like cultists, like human sacrifice and all that. I find out the title, I just slipped my mind, but I don't know if it was a love, but anyway, like I think, yeah, like early video watching, like Terminator particularly, was something I really enjoyed as a kid. The transformation, like taking, removing the eye and all that, and also like when he just arrived, like both of them naked in LA. It's nice. But yeah, later on, I mean, when I was already a filmmaker, it was. I mean, I was never really like into like slasher films, but somehow eventually I was into, because I made like a remake of Driller Killer with like punk musicians in London. But that was more like it was really fitting. I mean, I love Abel Ferrara, especially, yeah, Bad Lieutenant, King of New York. But yeah, most of Addiction is horror, kind of, which is great. I mean, Driller Killer is legend, of course, because it's so evil and nasty. I guess it's and DIY, low budget, punk. What else you need? So anyway, like as I said, I mean, my favorite genre is more like psychological thriller and erotic thriller. So also in horror, I like erotic and like crazy stuff, but not like necessarily. So yeah, like love with horror genre begin, I think, a teenager, like watching like Lost Highway. I mean, I was really always drawn to darkness in a way, but not necessarily like genre film, but kind of disturbing and experimental stuff. So I guess it's very horror-y, because horror genres could be seen as one of the first genres in history of film, because it was very early on, like Nosferatu and all that was scary, but so it's very crucial to film horror and very like core of filmmaking, because it's physical in a way, so it adds a lot to what you can get from a book, to put it very simple. Yeah, what made you want me to be a filmmaker? Yeah, I mean, I started as a musician and then eventually photographer. Like especially in American summer, it really kicked off. Like when I spent 4 months in New York and 1 month in New York City. So I shot amazing stuff. Even shot Mike Tyson, like from really close, 2002. So it was an experience I never forget. But yeah, so I was street photographer, and then when I started playing around with, digitalizing my films, it was shot on film, and just started playing with editing software during like having access to Macs, and I just started playing with putting music to images. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people did like that. So, but I mean, self-expression made me want to be a filmmaker, and sharing my vision or sharing my views, in an artistic form. I guess that's filmmaking. It's about sharing for me, and sharing something and enjoying together. So it's not just in your head, but put it out on a projection and let others see it as well, and hopefully, make sense. And obviously it's even better if it's collaboration and it's a vision of more than one person. But I mean, it's a big question, to be honest, but yeah, so both has good and bad, of course. But also I remember, like, when I watched that movie Hate, it's called Luan, by Kassovitz, yeah, a French director, really good film. I think that was first time I really thought, like, fuck, I mean, this is powerful, and because it was about like a rebel gang of youth in Paris, and just one day, very intense film, because it's find a gun of a policeman, and it's very relatable. It's like what kids would do, like they hate the police, like, anyway. So it's a revenge film, but also kind of it's a great film. I love it. So I think that's what I could, because obviously I loved films, but that was when because it's quite documentary style, and that's when I thought, like, actually must be amazing to capture this life and share it, and give other people the experience what you kind of going through in life. And so I think that was a major film for me. Yeah, immunity. Okay, so I'm really, because I'm in London, it's very difficult to access film industry. So I always did music videos, and I ended up like doing a lot of fashion, and I love fashion. It's very inspiring in London, and it really feels like coming from subcultures, and so it's quite passionate. And since the pandemic, it's even crazier, because I really try to express themselves, like, because I don't know why, too much internet. But anyway, so the way I came up with so Immunity was done. So it's a weird production because I had an opportunity to shoot in LA, and so it was quite, it was a half-day shoot. So, and I didn't really know what I will do with it, but it's kind of Immunity is a second part of, there's a film we shot in London called it's called The Ballad of the White T-Shirt, and it was showcasing new face models in a creative way. So we created this story about this gang of, or youth who are all wearing like white t-shirt, and they just show up, and we don't know who they are, or where they in this urban setting. But the backstories became like they kind of like part of they kind of like belong to a hospital, basically, like a mental hospital or some sort of unexplained hospital, and they just trying to survive the experience they are in and trying to help each other. And the story suggests they managed to escape, but there is like a word about some cult leaders behind all this. And yeah, I mean, it's a short film, so it was really just capturing their very interesting and beautiful faces and vibe, and little story I wrote on the bus, because we were shooting for a few days. And then when I got a chance to go to LA, like, I knew I won't have time for like big concepts, but I recently watched Lord of the Flies, and I really inspired. I mean, I decided to go with the white t-shirts because it's like you don't need a stylist, and it's still kind of fashion, and because it's very simple. And but I knew that I want to work with something as a group of youth, and in this case like kind of a girl gang who are living in contemporary society, but they not really part of it. So a bit like Lord of the Flies, but without being in isolation on an island, they are isolated inside the city. And so I imagined this when we were shooting it. I mean, I was hoping I can get some primitive weapons and, like branches, or made, like Stone Age stuff, like that people would create, or like kids really. I mean, they're young, so it's like a young group of girls really who loyal to each other and help each other. So that was my idea, to capturing their kind of thing. But then when I had the chance to publish it, because the material was so great, I mean, it was not in focus for me, so I really focused on shooting really good stuff, but like I had other things to do. So but the pandemic kicked in, and then I had a lot of time to play with the footage. So I actually I created it into a Manson story in a way. Like, these street kids or whatever, mysterious kids or runaways, they actually part of, they kind of like a cult. And the story is they trying to get rid of the the brainwash they in, and that's supposed to be the immunity is supposed to be the thing to be immune to Manson or the character. So yeah, I mean, and the whole witchcraft and all that was during the day, but it was experimenting, and then it was very handy because this version of the film, which was published, I mean, they obviously preferred like more interesting, exciting story. So I had this like footage from before where we shot in the States, like a really cool project. So I used some footage from there, and I had a very, very amazing person in the UK who is Manson in the film. I mean, he sadly passed away quite recently, and so it's very sad. But anyway, so that was footage I shot with him. So it's kind of like, you know, there are some found footage, but it's all my work. But I extended the story with that, and also like I used some post-production methods to create more, you know, show them evil and getting rid of it. I mean, it's yeah, I mean, it's what it is. So I mean, I'm attracted to, you know, the Manson story, like many people. Like, it's very crazy. So I think he's definitely a horror character. Yeah. I mean, most challenging and most rewarding. I mean, it's always challenging. It probably would be weird. Anyway, so it's definitely. I mean, the most challenging is always like distribution and publication and money, like how to get money for it. I mean, I kind of doing my work in commercial setting, so I'm not like working like how you're supposed to work, that you have a film idea and then you get money for it and shoot it, but it's like hustling, really. So it's very challenging to be accepted as a filmmaker, like who gets funded. So I mean, that's the most challenging, that it's like a lifestyle. So trying to make every opportunity to create something. Yeah. I mean, rewarding is obviously, it's a rewarding practice. I mean, I love results, and the most rewarding is always to, I mean, the creation, I would say, and getting there, like, and you kind of see it's coming together, and you like it. That's the most rewarding. I mean, I haven't really made money with my films, but I'm hoping I will. And yeah, I'm working on a feature film project at the moment, so that's exciting, and it'll be more like traditionally made, like script first and then the rest. So, and the challenging, back to the challenging part is, you know, I was hoping to more social processes, but it seems like not as social, at least in my experience, as I hoped it will be. But anyway, that's the challenging part. Okay, my favorite horror films currently. I mean, I was thinking about this question before. I mean, I just watched like The Eyes of Laura Mars, and I actually haven't finished yet, but it's like absolutely love it. But it's not like typical horror film, I would say. It's very, yeah, it's fashion industry. But I love, for example, I would mention maybe, you know, Harry, the story of a serial killer, is absolutely horrible. But it just somehow very, I like that film because it's very creative, very desperate, very horrible, telling of, you know, some really dark part of humans, and in this case man. And it's very well made, I think, with not much money, I believe. So I would mention that, and there are so many. I mean, I'm a big fan of Polanski, Repulsion, Rosemary's Baby. I love Dracula from Coppola, I mean, on a big budget. I love like Cat People, Paul Schrader version is fantastic with Natasha Kinski. And yeah, I mean, I obviously I love the giallo genre, so I'm a big fan. Argento, Mario Bava. So I guess I'm really into a bit more esoteric, supernatural, and also erotic types. I mentioned Ferrara. But yeah, currently, I mean, more current ones. I watched Last Night in Soho recently, and that was cool. Actually, love those Soho werewolves showing up. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that's all the questions. Thank you so much again. Look forward festival. It's always lovely to, you know, be selected for like specific genres, and it's really cool. Thank you guys.